Live now. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you happen to be. It's rather a miserable cold night in Melbourne at the moment, actually. All right, tonight's going to be a little bit different. We haven't got our usual crew in. Unfortunately, Justin, Adam and Rob and the Scottish Irishman. But I realise that it's a bad night too, probably. I don't know how many are in the chat at the moment. Because it's grand final night in both those stupid games of bloody football where they kick a pigskin full of wind around a paddock.
I like that one.
All right. I'll put it up on full screen, so I'm not going to see the chat. As usual, if you have a question or anything, just put Q's in front of it or question marks, and I don't see the chat. So Sid will go through if there's any questions, or Jay will pick them up, and any comments as well. Come on, you mongrel computer, get out to full screen. Thank you. Now, I got an interesting message the other day from a bloke called Charles Lawton. Now, he's not on Facebook much, but he apparently watches all the lives and everything. And I must admit, it's hard teaching over the internet. Now, normally, what I do is I've got various chisels sharpened at various ways around here, and I get people to try them to see, because certain chisels suit certain people the way that they're used.
Just button in, Robbo. According to me, you're not on full screen.
Oh, I am here. Oh, no, it's just the four of us on. I'm on full screen. I can't see the chat.
Yep. Okay, yeah.
Right. Okay.
No worries.
Right. And I get people to try the chisels out. And Charles brought up a very good point, actually. He wants to know the difference in the shape of the grind at the end of a bowl gouge, the difference that it makes when you're using it. Now, I know that a lot of people use the Ellsworth grind. I know some people use other grinds, 40/40s and this and that. So I've got a scrap piece on here at the moment, and I'll show you the difference and the reasons why I like the Celtic grind, the Irish grind, or the Liam O'Neill grind. They're all exactly the same grind. A lot of people call the Ellsworth grind a Celtic grind, and it's not. It's a totally different grind altogether. And I'll point out, I'll go into detail on the shapes and everything there. So this is a normal grind. I'll get it up on the camera here. I'll just zoom the camera in a bit. And I'll put it up right onto total screen. Nearly hit the wrong button, remove from stream. Right.
Ooh.
So this is a normal grind, a swept back grind, a Celtic grind, a Liam O'Neill grind. It only comes back about a half an inch off the edge. As I've said before a million times, all my grinds are 45 degrees with the exception of a couple of chisels for purposes, special purposes. Now you'll notice that this one has a secondary bevel around the back here. That's to stop bruising when it's going down the inside of a bowl. Now L.I. Avicera actually curves that. He puts a concave curve on it. You'll have to forgive my fingernails. I've been working like a nigger today, actually getting other things out of the way, including staining. So I always run a 45-degree bevel there, and that's about 45 degrees back on this nose here. Now, most of these grinds were designed, as I've said before, for the Henry Taylor Superflute, which is a parabolic curve down in here. It's not a U curve or a V groove or anything like that. It is a parabolic curve or a catenary curve. It's not much different than either of them. Right, so that's the normal grind that most people use. This one is an Ellsworth grind. And you can see that the top rolls over in towards the center of the flute. It's got a 30-degree or 60-degree bevel on the front here. It's very, very narrow. So you've got to get the chisel around a fair bit to get it in. You've also got to roll it over more to get it to cut, which I'll show in a minute. Then there's a traditional...
towards you a bit, Robbo. You had it off picture there.
Yeah, I know. I've got to line it up on the monitor myself. Now, this is a really swept back grind. And it's still got it's still a Henry Taylor. And it's still a parabolic curve in there. And all I've done is taken the wings back further past 45. I use this particular chisel for doing tops and things like that because I can cut such a long side on it. But it's still 45 degrees on the nose. This is a traditional English grind. They're 60 or 30 degrees here on the bevel. This one's been relieved on the back because the only time I ever use this is in the inside of a bowl where I can't get down around the transition curve from down the inside of it. Now, this gives a fantastic finish on oak and some of the harder timbers because it's very, very strong up here in the bevel. I've also got the relief. I've put a double bevel on it so that it doesn't bruise the timber as it's going down and doesn't leave lines and things down it. This one here is a 40-40 grind made, where are we? Made famous by not Alan Batty, Stuart Batty. Alan Batty was his dad. That's 40 degrees down the bevel here, 40 degrees back on the side of the bevel as well, and virtually a straight line straight down. It's got no curve, no convex curve in it at all. So they're the various grinds that you can get in anywhere in between. Now, the difference is the amount of material that they remove. Like the Celtic grind one that I use, you can cut this full width if you want to, like this. I'll just zoom that back a bit. And move the camera along a little bit. Right. So if you can start it here and the power's, your lathe's got the power. Got to wait for this to warm up. Might not take her off a bit. You cut the full width of the wing. The same with this specialised one here. I'll just get rid of this. That I normally use for tops. So you get nice ribbons of shavings like that. Now the traditional grind one, you cannot take a massive cut with it. That's about as much as it'll take. And if you could see a side view of me, because of the angle on the bevel here, I've got the handle well up, higher than what I would normally have it. I normally have it down at 45, but because of the 30 degree or 60 degree, depending on which way you look at it, you've got to lift the handle up to get it to cut. Now I know that I'm not sure if, geez, my memory's gone bad tonight. The lady from Queensland, the one you like, Sid.
Flick.
Flick, yeah, that's it. Felicity, that's right. Now she likes the Ellsworth grind. Where's it gone? There. This is the reason I don't like the Ellsworth grind. You've got to get it right over, and it wants to grab as soon as it starts cutting. Now, you can take a fairly decent cut with it, but again, I've got it tucked in almost up halfway up in the chest because of the narrow bevel on the front. And because it rolls over like that, it's a balancing act to get it to cut properly. What this was mainly made for is this. And I know you normally do it on the inside of a bowl, but I'm going to do it on the outside of one for a change. For shear cutting. Because this wing is so long here, it is absolutely fantastic for shear cutting. The other thing that quite often happens with these, with the Ellsworth grind, is that because it narrows the flute down a little bit because it's come right over the top, on damp or wet timber it will occasionally clog right up, and you've got to take it out and run your finger down the middle of it to get rid of it. But for shear cutting, absolutely fantastic. Now,
So
they will
Ricky's
all-
put a question in asking if the lathe needs a service, and I'm going to guess that's because it was stopping.
no, it's only it's a 1 horsepower variable speed motor on this one. And unfortunately, variable speeds I stop. There's only one variable speed I've ever used that I cannot stop. And that's called a Vicmark 600, which will never be available to the general public. It actually had 2 of us turning on it. It's at the Vicmark factory. There have been a couple sold to a couple of people, I believe. But that is pure grunt. Now, if I was, and I'm taking massive cuts as well. So as soon as I put a variable speed on, most lathes lose a lot of torque. So can't do much about it. Now, do a shear cut with this. Because of the long grind down here, it doesn't do a bad job either. Or a shear scrape. Excuse me. Now, shear scrapes are finishing cuts. They're not meant for bulk removal. This long one, this normal one here, it does a good job too. Of shear scraping. Getting nice fairy down off there. It is nearly impossible to do a shear scrape with the traditional grind. Because these wings, these are virtually ground straight across. I generally bring the wings back just a fraction, but not much because it defeats the purpose otherwise. And for pen turners, jeez, pen turners. I'll need therapy tomorrow.
I'll give me a ring, Robbo. I'll have a chat to you.
For pen turners, a bowl gouge ground straight across absolutely works fantastic because they act like a mini roughing gouge. Now, the 4040 can be used for a shear scrape, but it doesn't work as well as what the other grinds do. So, Charles, I hope that's answered your question. And I hope that's answered other people's questions. Now, another thing always to avoid is whenever you're doing a bowl, you end up with a sharp pull up here. Oh, which is shit about. Always get a little bit of sandpaper after you've done it, just to take the edge off. It will burn you, but it won't cut you. And trust me, that's like a razor blade up on that edge there. Mark Soleil in America calls that a safety a safety cut just to get rid of that corner. Any questions on the chisel shapes?
No.
No. All right. Now you can see that's, except for up here where I haven't done, finish on that.
Darren,
You can start.
Darren's seen himself out, Robbo, because he said some say pen turning is good therapy, so he's seen himself out before we kicked him out.
Oh, okay, good, right. As you can see, the shear scrape or shear cut leaves a fantastic finish. This is Jacaranda, which can be a bit notorious sometimes. It can easily get tear out like that in it. And just on that point, always remove tear out with a chisel. Don't try and sand it out. You destroy the shape of the bowl for one thing, and it's virtually impossible. Now, everybody says you should never use a spindle gouge on bowl turning, but sometimes a spindle gouge, because of its cutting action up the front here, if it's ground like that, gives a better finish than any other tool. In fact, anything under about 5 or 6 inches, I use a spindle gouge for turning. And the effect, it's easier to do a shear cut with a spindle gouge because you can actually see where it's going. And of course you can use bowl gouges on spindle work as well. But remember, they cut a little bit differently than the spindle gouge does. Okay. Now we'll just get up to where we were a fortnight ago. Oh, excuse me, I've got the sniffles. I think I've got a touch of hay fever actually, but now, just another little thing. If you've got a hand wheel on a lathe, hold on, just got to blow my nose, folks. If you've got a hand wheel on a lathe, don't lock the shaft up and unscrew the bowl like this. Hold the bowl firmly and the chuck, even taking chucks off. Hold the chuck and undo it with a hand wheel. Because what can happen sometimes if you undo it like this, it falls down onto the bed and you are guaranteed to get a mark on the timber or crack the edge. Don't ask me how I know this. So hold the piece and undo the by the hand wheel. Now, I've just got to get up to where everybody else is because the little bit of wood that I did have has been turned down to nothing. So I'll just form the outside of this one. I'll give myself a bit of room here.
So Tommy's commented that the spindle gouge has plenty of meat in the handle, unlike the spindle roughing gouge.
Oh, the bowl gouge uses a spindle gouge, yes. Sorry, Tommy, I just had to work out what we're talking about for a minute.
And Adams commented that not too long ago, bowl gouges didn't exist.
Exactly. Bowl gouges only came into being in 1970, believe it or not. When the child, I think it's Peter Childs, the father, played around with them and persuaded Henry Taylor to make them for him. All right, I'll get this up to where everybody's up to, and it'll be a bit of a refresher for everybody. So we've got the outside formed at the moment. Now, the advantage of the shear scrape is that you can actually go uphill. And remember, it's a finishing cut to get rid of any little lumps and bumps and things in it. Right. Now, make a pass across the bottom. Skew chisel, where'd I hide it?
Over by the paint tins you're opening, Robbo.
Yeah, could be. There it is. Put a little dimple in the centre here. Comes in handy for later on when you have to take this tenon off the back and form the base. And as I said, the safest way to make the size of your chuck is use a pair of calipers. Sit it into the middle. I'll just change cameras so as you can see. Sit one leg in, the other leg down on the tool rest, and just mark it. Right, now, got to remember which chuck I'm using. Oh, yeah. Form our tenon.
Might want to change cameras again, Robbo.
Yep. Form our tenon, like so. And remember that this has to have a slight dovetail on it. It's not very much. If you make it too big, it only bears around the outside surface here. But this, where this meets here, has got to be nice and sharp and crisp. And always just make it a little bit concave. In like so. Then put the dovetail in with the edge of the skew chisel. And that leaves a nice sharp entry point there. Now, a lot of people too just take a little corner off there. I know Stuart Batty always does. Right. So we can take that out now and put it in the chuck. Just talk amongst yourselves. The red and all the pattern down here is from another demonstration I was doing. So.
And what wood did you say it was?
Jacaranda.
Okay.
I like jacaranda. I've run out. Unfortunately, I've run out of it now because I haven't been up to Queensland for so long.
Is it called by anything else?
Nope. Neil can probably give you the botanical name of it.
Yeah.
Take the ring off. I must say the workshop smells fantastic at the moment. I've been turning camphor laurel.
Oh, nice. I've got a piece of that. I haven't turned it yet, but
All right, get rid of that. Put this on. Now, just a small thing on chucks. This is a Vicmark chuck. I find the Vicmark chucks are absolute. Look, the Vicmark chucks and the Nova chucks, in my opinion, are pretty. The Vicmark has got the slide edge on finish and all of that sort of thing. The thing I don't like about the Vicmark chuck is this. I use mainly tenons whenever I'm doing bowls or anything like that. And in my opinion, the 40 mil or whatever it is in here is just too small on a lot of bowls over about 6 inches. And I've snapped tenons because of that. Like just snapped them off the timber. The Nova Scroll chuck is 2 inches, and the same with the SC4, I think it is, which is made by Record Power in England. It is also, it's a Nova Scroll chuck, basically, made under license, I think. So that's the reason I don't like Vicmark chucks, is that they're just too small here. They're all right on a mortise, but for a tenon, they're just too small and it can easily break the tenon off. So I always work on the 1/3 rule normally anyway. Divide the diameter by 1/3 and use the appropriate size chuck. You can always turn the bottom down again afterwards to get it right. Okay, we're nearly up to where we were a fortnight ago now. Also, you make sure that that tenon doesn't bottom out inside. Change cameras again. Make sure that that tenon doesn't bottom out on the jaws inside. It's made to register up on this edge here. That's why you've got to get that part there right. It constitutes at least 40% of its holding power. And whenever you tighten the chuck in, always go around it 2 or 3 times. And do the same while you're turning. Now this is a bit lumpy bumpy. And I'll get myself, no I won't. Now in a case like that, you can see where the band saws come through here when I've been cutting this blank off. They being me. So in order to get rid of those lumps, what happens is most people come out here and come here. Now what happens sometimes is that 2 things can happen. You can be too deep in here because you haven't seen this in the shadow line and you'll jam the chisel or split the timber. The other thing, as you're trying to go across here, all it does is bounce. It bounces the chisel on and off all the time. So normally if I get something like that, like if this was a curved bit over the top here, like a half log like this one here, I start on the outside edges here and just do a plunge cut in to start getting a flat edge where it's not going to keep kicking me out all the time. Just slow that down a fraction. So all I do is I just get the chisel there. Basically, I can put it straight in. But you get it open face like that, and then slowly turn it around until it starts cutting. When it starts cutting, just go straight in like so, until it doesn't bounce anymore. So you can see the chisel bouncing there. Turn around until it starts taking it off. You got a nice flat surface, same as I do the outside. You got a flat surface to start off with. And that's about as much as I take off. Now, I appreciate that most of you you're doing as a hobby and it's relaxation. Unfortunately, in my case, I've got to get it. If I can do it quicker, I'll make more money. So I only take that much off because we're going to take all of this out anyway from in here. So it doesn't matter. Now, if this is about 12 inches in diameter and you take all the center off, the outside edge here is going to flex. It gets wobbleosity in it. And then it starts ovulating. And it ovulates at the wrong time. It comes down on the chisel at the wrong angle and you just blow the whole lot apart. So in a big bowl or something that's a little bit flimsy, you come to the outside here. Always give the chisel room to move. Keep this center section as big as you can. Go down about an inch here. Now, I can put it in at 45 like that. The palm of my hand, I'll just get the other camera again. The palm of my hand is locked against the rest. So I can't swivel. And I'm swiveling against my little finger there like that. If I use an underhand grip, I'm pinching the chisel between the thumb and forefinger, and the finger is locked against the rest. I do not put fingers up behind the rest like that to support a chisel. I've seen too many flaming accidents that way. So, and then I just start the cut with the tool locked, flutes at 45 degrees, take it out, come back the other side here. Get rid of a bit more waste. Now this is going to be a bit of a disadvantage. Now to get this, to start this rim here, the chisel goes in, I'll just go to the overhead camera. The bevel faces the way you want the tool to go. So you can see, hopefully you can see the bevel there. How's that look, Sid?
Yep, pretty good.
And it goes straight in until you get the mark there. And it's technically scraping. As soon as you get in there and you start making the cut, then you bring the flute around to 45 degrees. Once you've got that there, you're right. Now, what some people do, and it's only been in recent years because of the advent of hobby turners. Wait on, just got to find the right tool here. Things have been moved around. I'll just use this one. Use a narrow parting tool. Sorry?
Bends in, look out.
So what you do is you just put a mark in here. I'll go to the end camera again so as you can see it. Put a groove in here. Then you've got your bevel support for your chisel straight away. So what this hand is doing is actually holding it down on the rest, but it's also locking it from skipping out sideways. If you put it in at an angle and you catch, this is the reason, as I said last time, that I like these edges here straight, the wings straight. So that if you don't, a lot of times when they're curved, you catch the edge first before you actually get the point. Okay, I'll just go out to here now and put it up so as I can see everybody. You've seen me enough. Okay, Landy, you're the centre of attraction today. Aren't you, lucky girl?
No, I don't think I'd agree with that statement. We can't hide in the mix.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I can't hide in the mix.
This is good. I can relax for a few minutes. No comments so far in the chat?
No, nothing yet. No, Michael's just asked Jay if he got his lathe fixed today. Almost. That close.
I'm sure Ben's got something to say.
Ben's been very quiet, a bit worried. You okay, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael. All I was missing was the circlip pliers. I don't have any, so I've got to go and get some tomorrow, and I'll be good to go.
Mark, the gentleman Woodturn has been in and is out again. So see you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, Darren's back after letting himself out for talking about pens.
So he should. I hope he shook himself.
Let the door kick you on the way out, eh?
Oh, he shakes himself too hard. You know what would fall out of that beard?
Hopefully some more of that plum. That was nice.
Oh, did you say I went to get chook food the other day and may have found an apple tree on the way home, and I may have had the chainsaw in the back. Feral apple.
Was it a feral apple though?
Yeah, it was growing on the edge of the road. They're all over the place. I've got 3 or 4 within half a K of home, just growing on the edge of the road, sort of 6-inch trunks.
Yeah. Shut up! Stop it!
You got to prune them every now and then, so because people do put up and pick the fruit. So
You're la 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 la.
no, I'll bring some up when I come up.
Someone reversed into the weeping willow next door to me, so I've got a nice branch to go and collect tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Jennifer's Robbo, is she not allowed in because she likes making pens?
It's all right, Jennifer, if you get a fleck when you come in the door, okay?
In a moment of weakness, and I may get kicked out for this, but in a moment of weakness, I did hear Robbo say he doesn't have a hassle with other people making pens, but he's not going to and he's never going to.
That's about the size of it.
Robbo,
Now,
how far am I
now,
going?
You're going to finish it.
What?
Get it down to where you want it, where it's starting to look like a bowl, all right?
Okay.
Keep going. If I'm not talking to you, Landy, it means you're going all right, okay? I only yell when I have to.
Don't ask me how I know.
I was going to comment and I thought, no, I won't. So Donald M may get booted. He said he doesn't know what he's missing. Pens are fun. I'd like to see you turn one on Henry, actually, if you could find an insert big enough.
Well, I've actually turned fake pencils on Henry, and Neil can verify that. They're only 8 feet long and 9 inches in diameter.
Okay.
That was for a kindergarten years ago.
Oh, boss is here.
Shirley.
Yeah, she just
Hello,
got home.
Shirley.
Robbo said, hello, Shirley. I've got my headphones on so she can't hear you.
Yeah.
She said, hi, Robbo.
Hello, Sid's better half.
Other half. Jay said hello, Sid's better half.
What has Landy said? What wood she's using?
No.
Neil's asked if Landy can move her camera so he can see what she's doing.
I think it's going to be a little bit awkward, but we shall see.
Well,
Turn your
well,
lathe
here
off,
we go.
Landy.
Isn't that what technical support is? Can't you get your son to come out and hold it in the right spot?
Stand there and hold the camera
Turn-
for you.
Yeah, that's good. Nelly, that's better.
Hello.
Whoa.
Nice.
Have you got little lights mounted around the lathe, have you, Landy? Or is it just the fluoros overhead? Because it's flaring pretty badly.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, I've got fluoros overhead, but I also have a little light. So the question is that better or is
No,
that better?
that's worse. Right here.
That's better. Like that. No.
That's
Yep.
better, yep. Looks like pine, is it?
It's the sleeper from Bunnings.
Okay, right. Yeah, it's a
And
pine.
I've got some. I've hit some green goo, which is obviously whatever it's preserved in halfway
All
through.
right.
But whatever. I shall keep going.
Okay.
And well, she's left and gone to her mother's, Terry. Who's
Can
20
you just
feet
mute?
behind me. Ricky's Rocket has question, is it stupid when hollowing I tend to watch what's going on the other side of the bowl?
No, actually, that's a good point, Ricky, because I call it X-ray vision. You can sort of look through the side and work out where the chisel's going inside, so that you sort of see through the edge of the bowl to make sure you're not going too far or too little or whatever. If you get your head in the right place, you can actually pretty well work it out. Keith Greenfield in England, his lathe goes in reverse. This one, unfortunately, doesn't go in reverse. But he actually turns on the other side of the bowl so that you can see where he's going.
Is the flute facing the right way there for what Landy was doing? Shout it sitting up right.
Yeah, no, that looks pretty right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll shut up then.
Just open the flute a little bit, Landy, when you're coming down there. That's better. Notice the difference in the cut? Right. So I've got you muted at the moment, dear, because the noise of the lathe overrides your microphone. Hand signals, I understand. Right, now when we're doing that cut, this is where you start running into trouble because it lifts the cut. If you're rubbing the bevel, it actually lifts the cutting edge off the wood. And that's where the traditional English gouge comes into its own. Just keep going, you're right.
So this is going to be the flashest Bunnings sleeper ever.
I'm surprised it hasn't got splits all the way down it, to be honest.
I'm going to put a raincoat on with this apple I've got and try and turn a piece of it really green and see what it does.
Yeah. Yeah, fruitwood's unfortunately notorious for splitting.
It's still in 4-foot lengths at the moment, but I've sealed the ends of that with PVA glue. So
right. Now I see what you're talking about, I think, Jay. Where's the flute, Landy? Right, yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, good. Yeah, all right, Jay. I was just about to suggest that, Landy. Move your tool rest into it now. The end of that thing should be just about touching the inside of the bowl. Yeah, down there. That's about right. That's good. Finger width. All right, I'll catch up now. I'll put it on the other camera. Always give yourself room for the chisel to go down into. Now,
Hey,
to
do you
answer
want to put?
Charles's question. Sorry?
I was going to say you should put yourself on a bit bigger screen when you're doing that.
Yeah, all right. I'll leave Landy alone for a minute. I've got sawdust all the way under the mouse, and it doesn't like working. Oh, come on, you mongrel thing. Where are you?
Robbo said mongrel.
Oh, I call everything a mongrel.
It's as close to swearing as you go, mate. On here, anyway.
Yeah. Right. Now, that was with the Liam O'Neill Celtic grind. This is with the Ellsworth grind. Now, the Ellsworth does have an advantage where with a little short bevel there at 30 degrees, you can get right round down into there, right round this corner here, like that. Now I'll do the 40-40 grind. Now you can, getting a fair way off the rest there. And my long grind. Feels like it needs a sharpen. Now you can see how far I've got to get the chisel around there in order to get keep the bevel rubbing. I'll just go to the overhead camera for a minute and hopefully you can see it. In order to get that around there, I've got to get the chisel right out around her, and it's starting to hit the rim here. Now this is where the traditional grind really works well, because you can get it down in here. And you get it right round the corner here, and it still maintains the cut. Now the Americans call this a bottom feeder. And if you're prepared to pay $150 odd or something, you can buy one. However, what I do is wait until the chisel's virtually worn out, and then I just put the grinder one on the end of it. So I'll just get that on the end camera so you can see it. Starts off right over there. Now the flute is nearly straight up and down, and you're just cutting off the nose of it.
Neil's just pointed out you've got your shelf decorated with beautiful icicle Christmas shavings.
Oh yeah, I know.
Hey, we can't see. No, back this way more. No,
What?
back this way more. Back
Further
towards the
away from the-
tailstock more.
There's
Oh,
one
I
more.
think they're actually. You might have to dig underneath. They're actually over the camera itself.
It's actually over the other end of the shelf.
Right off. Geez, I might have to do a Brian here. Just hold on a minute.
Oh, good Lord. Oh.
Aha! That
Yeah,
one
Now we
there.
can see.
yeah, there's that. See, look at that. Thank you.
That better?
Yeah, thank you.
Right. So as you can see, the chisel's nearly horizontal, the flute's nearly wide, nearly straight up and down. And you're just cutting off the nose. And you can get right round here with it. As you get around, when you come down there, you've got to turn the chisel around a little bit more to get it up on the cutting angle that you want. Now another way to make across there, this lady's a bit short unfortunately. I actually come across the outside here and work this way. When I get down to there, I swing the chisel around and I work off the back wing. Tailstock's in the way. Or you can do what Landy was doing there before, come from the centre and work out.
Robbo, it's your Andy. Is there any way to show us that the opposite direction you did with a better camera angle?
But
Because your hand's literally in
Sorry.
front of it when you're going all the way around
oh, all right. Sorry.
and you came across the bottom. I just couldn't see the chisel at all to really get an idea of what you mean by off the back bevel.
Okay. All right. This chisel, the bottom, the traditional grind, or the other one?
Not the bottom feeder because I ain't got one.
The
other one.
Robbo.
Hey, Landy, can you send your tech support around to help him?
No,
All right.
we're just outside the right kilometerage, I think.
So there. That better? Now
Okay,
what
so
I
you-
do?
Yep.
Yeah. Now that's got no bevel support at all. That's like tracing a line. So what
Yeah.
I do? This is going to be awkward.
Might be better
Can you
from the
drop-
top camera, Robbo.
Or can you drop
No,
your hand
no, you
underneath? I
can't.
know you don't. Yeah, that's better.
Okay. So all I'm doing is just going along there like that. And the chisel's right out. I'll just change cameras, won't I? And the chisel's right out over the back of the lathe virtually. So that's one way, or you can come around and do what you were doing there before with the flute at 45.
I
and
just
come
when
out
I'm
from the
doing
set.
it. Sorry, Robert. When I'm going that way, what do I do when I hit the wall? I'm always concerned I'm going to get a catch from that front, even though the corners are well ground down, from that bottom front corner when you get close to the.
You mean if you come back to here
Yes,
like that,
yes.
you stop before you hit
So in
the
other
edge.
words, so you go back, you go across, to a certain percentage, and then you come
Right.
down the wall to then join it up.
Okay, this is a complete cut, all right?
Thank you.
So you're coming out like this. Now you can see there's only 1/8 of an inch between the wall and the chisel. So you stop. Then you have to come back around the other way here and come back down in here and marry it up that way. And make sure you don't run off the rest inside. I normally use a longer rest for doing this. Now another little trick is in the center here, put a little dimple like that and work down to it, all right? So you come out from there.
All right, I'll have a go at the other directional one and see if I can do it.
And then you come down from here. Make sure you get bevel support in that first part. When you get to there, sorry, so you come down the wall like this, you get to there, then you swing the chisel right round and come down here like that. And that saves you having to use a traditional grind or anything else. Now I've got to be careful here that I don't make a funnel because I will never live, I won't hear the end of it if I do. Oh, yeah, still got plenty there. Okay, give that a whirl. That's it. Now stop there and bring the handle of your chisel right over the back of the lathe. Watch where the business end of it is. Get the bevel rubbing. The same as it's a reverse cut on what you were doing from the middle out there a minute ago. That's it. Don't go past center.
Okay, that's a better surface than what I got the other way. So, or a smoother across, if that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, right. Okay. Now, if you leave a little dimple in the bottom here when you get it nearly finished, you can sand down to that because it's very, very hard to get a perfectly flat surface. Now, when you get as far as that, then you have to start using a scraper in a lot of cases. So you bring your tool rest up to centre height. Just keep working on that landing and get it out. I've got to get scrapers from over at the back of the workshop. How are they in the chat? Any questions or anything so far?
No.
All silent on the
They're
eastern
behaving
front.
themselves. I've got here. There's lots.
Well, Ricky said you've just joined the funnel club, but
the funnel club.
Sorry, I'm getting an echo.
it's maybe Ricky thought Robbo did.
Robbo,
Yeah,
what angle do I use if I want to do a shear cut on the inside of the bowl?
right. It's exactly now, a shear cut on the inside of a bowl is hard work with a bowl
I'll
gouge.
forget it then. I can't be bothered with anything that's hard work.
So
Keep going.
I always find that the best thing to use for a shear cut on the inside of a bowl is your spindle gouge.
Okay.
All right. Now just watch for a second. Man, I got that much crap here. I can't see it, can't find a thing.
Okay, watching.
Right out. Now, what I'm going to do here is going to probably horrify a lot of people. Now, hopefully,
Almost, Robbo.
you can see through it. Now, if you're using a spindle gouge, it's held horizontal and the flute is at 45 degrees. I'll just see if I can get the... I'll
Can
just see
you
if I can
zoom
adjust...
in?
Sorry?
Nothing. You're going to say.
I'm just going to get to see if I can adjust the speed so that it's virtually stopped.
Oh, close. I want to go on full screen for it, Robbo, too.
Yeah. Just back a second. Back a bit. Right. The spindle gouge is held horizontally with the flute at 45 degrees. And you're cutting just off there. Now, this is a finishing cut. And it's got to be less than 90 degrees to the timber. So you can come down here like this.
Yeah,
And you can
losing
get
sight of
around-
it now.
Then you can get around this corner here. And you can get up the sides as well. Now, if you try to do it with a bowl gouge, and I'm going to switch the
Hello.
light off because I'm no hero. Yes,
You
John.
only got when you were doing that, it's only getting right in the middle of the bowl. It's not getting the edges or the corners of the
Righto.
edge or anything.
All right. Well, why don't I go out a bit?
Yeah. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Like, is the
all right.
transition line, is that what you're trying to go for?
Yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can see that all right.
Yep.
Right out. What I might do, I'll just see if turning off this light makes a difference. That might be better. So you come along the bottom like this. The flute's at 45, less than 90 degrees to the timber. You come out like so. And you can actually get right up that transition line. Remember to keep it less than 45, less than 90 degrees to the timber. And you can sweep right up the sides like so. Now, while I've got that going like that, whereas a bowl gouge, if you try to do a cut from there up around here by maintaining less than 90 degrees to the timber, at some point you're going to run into trouble because you can't get it around fast enough to get it back right round this side. You can do it in little bits and pieces, but I find a spindle gouge works a lot better.
Robbo, can you show me the tip of your spindle gouge, please? Yeah, okay. Very blunt. Mine over the time of sharpening has now become a lot more sharp at the tip.
This is the problem. You will not do it with a pointy spindle gouge. It's got to be a thumbnail. It's got to be a thumbnail grind or a slight swept back. It can't have a point on it.
You see that, Robbo?
Wait on. No, I'm on full screen.
Yeah, I can't tell which angle to put it on until I can see a bit better.
Right.
Good.
Wait on. I'll put you up on full screen. Just rotate it a bit to the right. Yeah, just knock that point. Knock that point back a little bit. You probably get away with it. It may, but I find that the thumbnail grind works a lot better on.
Just thinking, as you were talking about approach, for me to get it at that approach, that tip is really quite. No, the flute's got to go over at 45 degrees. Like that.
The flute has to go at 45 degrees.
That's the flute here.
Yeah, right. It's a bit hard to tell on the camera without me seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're just cutting below the tip, all right?
Okay,
and if
well,
it's
if
got
I
a
come
point,
round, I guess I could do that better. Yeah.
Yeah. And if it's
But
got a point on it, it's got no bevel support.
Okay. All right. I'll have a play with the grind on it tomorrow, maybe.
Even though there really is no bevel support when you're making a shear scrape anyway. Okay. Now.
Okay.
All right. My negative rake scraper is a lot different than most people's.
So Chris, the spinning wood dodger, went out to do his chooks and came back with half a bowl missing. So it didn't explode on the lathe or anything, Chris. It was a deliberate break so that Robbo could show what's happening inside the bowl.
Now, my negative rake scrapers, I run them back at very, very long angles.
Almost
like
skew
that.
like Robbo.
It's actually further than what I run the skews back. Now, I don't use the burr either on a scraper. I just take it off until it's sharp, And as far as I'm concerned, if it's got a sharp edge, it's going to cut. So again, horizontal. I also like an elliptical shape on them rather than just a half round like this, but I can't find it at the moment. So and you just gently come up the side. I don't want to come up too far because I'm likely to fall into that gap. But as you can see, it's raising a lovely shaving off the end there. Ah, come on. There you go. And again, with a negative rate scrape, you can work backwards and forwards. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way without losing grip on the chisel. So as we come up to the end, the pure end grain, you can see the shavings floating off there. Right, now, all right, Landy, just keep going with what you're going there and keep working on that bowl. All your left hand is basically doing is just holding it down on the rest. Oops, I just kicked the bucket. I wonder where that's gone to. So I'm a little bit disorganised tonight because had a few technical problems before I started for some reason. They kind of upset the system.
Hey, Landy, your camera seems to have dropped a little bit. We seem to be looking more at your bed and not so much the bowl.
Chris, the Spinningwood Dodgers, put a question in. Has RoboCop reached the point that he no longer needs Robbo's tuition? I don't think so. He
No.
couldn't make it this week.
No, I think he had something on this weekend, so. Geez, I can't find a flaming thing in this workshop at the moment. Got to go to the archives now.
I don't think I'm going to get that tear out no matter what I do, Robbo. I think it's called sleeper timber.
Well, yeah, pine is very, very hard, particularly when it's partly wet too. Like I say, this is only throwaway stuff. It's to learn the techniques more than anything else. Okay. Now there is another way to remove little blemishes and tear out on things, and it's a very old method, and believe it or not, it is still used by the Japanese. And they are these little things. They're called card scrapers or cabinet scrapers. They're thin bits of metal. I like this particular shape. And you actually round over and you do put a burr on them. I'll just turn this other light on again now. And what you do is if you get a little bit of tear out, you can actually scrape them by hand. Shaving, these are new, so the shavings aren't holding on them. But you can virtually follow the pattern around, like the grain around, to remove any little blemishes in them. And you can use them on the inside of the bowl as well to do any little, you probably get a better idea of how they scrape. They only take a very fine shaving off. I'll turn the other camera on, why not? Shelf's in the way. Why not? I'll just take it down to wide. No, I have to do it in here. You can see the little shaving they're taking off there, just falling off the thing. And that's another way of getting rid of tear out. Now, don't use them on rotating work. You can use them, but I didn't tell you that you can use them, all right? It requires a gentle touch, but they do work pretty well on rotating work as well. Whoops. Move the tool rest, Robbo. Always remove your spindle lock, okay? Before you try and start the lathe. See, with a curved one, see the little amount of shaving we're getting off there. And it'll start cleaning up this area here very, very well. So they're cabinet scrapers or flat scrapers or something else they might be called. They come in very, like, you get a oblong like that. As I said, that's my favourite shape for using them. But they are really, really good for just getting rid of little bits of tear out. I've found on some timbers, you'll get rid of a little bit of tear out here, and suddenly you get a little bit more down there. And you'll sand it, and the tear out actually moves. But with a cabinet scraper, you can generally get rid of it as you're working with it. So any questions so far?
Sid, you're on mute.
Thank you. Rex had one earlier about the angle on the spindle ground, but gauge, but you then answered it as he asked it, and he's got one now. Does that scraper work better than sanding paper?
In some cases, yes. It'll get rid of. If you ever watch Japanese turners, they quite often turn them all with a gouge or with their hook tools and things, and then they'll pick up the cabinet scraper and use that to get a last little finish on it. And then they use the traditional Japanese turners use a grass. Actually, it's they don't use sandpaper as such. They use a grass, which has got abrasive little scales on it. Don't ask me the technical name. I don't know.
Darren's doing
Well,
a
ladies-
Sergeant Schultz.
Sorry.
Darren's doing a Sergeant Schultz. He sees nothing.
Right. Well, that's about all until we sand them up, and I'll do that separately next week because there's quite a few different things from that. And we've been going an hour and a half nearly, I think. Yeah, an hour and 23 minutes. So thanks, Landy, for coming in. Thank you for all the people on the sidelines.
Yep, so we had 25 watching at one point.
Oh, we got 27 now, I think, by the look of it. And I'll come back off full screen so that I can see the chat.
Yep, 27 now.
Thank you for all your advice, Robbo.
That's all right. Yeah, you can cut them out of sheets and tin, but I've found that they're actually easier just to buy. They don't cost that much.
Where can you buy them from, Robbo? Who stocks them?
I think Hare and Forbes have them.
Okay.
Hare and Forbes, I think Timber Bits would probably have them. If you just do a short thing on cabinet scrapers.
Ricky Druckett's just put up 13.50 at Timbercom.
Yeah, for 3. Like I said, there's not much. They don't cost much. And like, man, the one that I was originally looking for, which is the same shape as this one, is over 40 years old. I bought a bloke's workshop about 15 years ago. I knew you had these there, so I just took the whole lot.
Lots of good comments in the chat.
Yeah, I was just reading them. Thank you for all the comments. And Sid, I love these. I love this headset. It is fantastic.
Well, that's good.
Thank you
Glad
for
it
that.
works.
Yeah. I have a great deal, just to explain to people, I have a great deal of trouble hearing because I'm deaf, or nearly deaf. I've got no hearing in my right ear, and it's caused partly by industrial deafness, but mainly by a disease I have, which is called Meniere's disease. Destroys the ears. Most people only get it in one. I got it in 2. It also destroys your balance, which is really cool on the odd occasion. But I have trouble with headsets because I don't go far enough in volume. And these ones actually work on the bone in front of your ear. So it actually transfers it bypasses the ear canal and everything else. And even though I've got to have them on full volume, I can hear quite clearly. So they're a really good set. And they're so small, like I forget I've got them on sometimes. I'll just take them off and show you, just in case anybody's interested. Untangle them off my glove, hearing aids. That's the size of them. Oh, you got the same ones. Only you got red ones.
So I've just whacked the link It's not. You can get them on Amazon, but there's not the link for where I got them from. But it's just a quick search. The Shocks headset. That's the one you're looking for.
Yeah,
You can get them substantially cheaper than that on Amazon if you hunt and wait for Amazon Prime days and that sort of stuff.
Aftershocks, yeah, they're the ones, Dara. And the other advantage is that I can hear whatever else is going on around me too, because I don't block up my ears. And the best part is that I can put a face shield on with them in my ears. So that's a real advantage.
I just had my Trend headset, Trend set on my head through that whole thing and could hear you guys perfectly. It was great, even with the Trend running, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found the same thing, and that's what I loved about it. Oh, I got it from Robert Hodge from Hodgepodge, and Harry was using them, and I asked him what he had, and he put me onto them. So I'll put credit back where it's due.
They're good.
I know that.
Sorry, Robbo. The other thing I was going to say, I know you said you like to be able to hear what's around you, but if you are having trouble hearing, if that's not a concern, if you actually put earplugs in, you will actually increase the acuity of what you can hear.
Yeah.
Makes it better.
Yeah, the strange part is that this one will work all right on the laptop, which I'm working on Wi-Fi out here. But if I put them onto the main computer inside the big PC in the office, they crackle and they cut in and out. And so I actually sent them an email, and they sent back the thing saying that what is interfering with them probably is USB 3, because they nearly work on the same frequency. So I think that's what the problem is. So if you've got USB 3 running everything, you may have a little bit of a problem with them. But other
Amy's
than that,
here.
Hello, Amy. You black-hearted devil.
She's a tortoiseshell. She's not black. I said, Dara's got a fake right eardrum and vertigo, so she knows what you're going through, Robbo.
Yeah, it's not good. Excuse me. Like I've said, I would never wish it on my worst enemy. And some days I just haven't been able to even get out of bed. So, but that's... Dara says that her babies are getting their breakfast at the moment. All right, folks, I shall knock it on the head. Thank you very much for coming in, everybody. And
Good to see you, everyone.
I'll see you next week. And if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see, please message me or send me an email. Message me on Facebook, and I'll endeavour to try and do it, to show it. I know that Rex wants to see a big platter at some time, so that might be in the pipeline a bit later on. All right.
Cool.
Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you.
See you all.
If I can get this mouse to get over to where I want it. Oh, jeez. Get out of the way, you mongrel thing.